Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a new video. We're going to be going over some reasons why you wouldn't want to switch to Linux. So last week we talked about why you would, and that's like me personally. I think you want to give it a shot. Like it's like a hidden little paradise kind of in a way. But there are reasons why you may not want to use Linux, and we'll go over that today. Okay, so let's get right into it. First reason here, our first reason is going to be lack of time. True. Like some of us go to work, we come home, we work again, and then we work again, and then maybe we have like 3 or 4 hours off at the end of the day. And if we have to go into Linux and learn how to do all this shit, right? Then you're like, screw that, dude. I don't want to do that. I can understand why the learning curve just having something new might be a little daunting. So, if that's your reason why you can't use Linux is because you're just too mentally drained at the end of the day to really sit down and stare at a screen and um, just chug through it and finally figure out, oh, that's how it works, right? Eh, You'll get to that aha moment, but it takes time, right? It takes time, and when it comes, it's going to be a series of them. Me, I'm still getting them like every day that I use it. Some I still hit some stuff that I don't know, uh, but I have the time to kind of work on it. If you do not have the time, if you are doing long hours, if you're doing hard work where you're just feeling like crap at the end of the day, then it may not be for you. So I totally respect if that's not something you're willing to take on. Some people are deathly afraid of the terminal, right? And you normally don't have to use it at all. But if you ever do need to use it, that fear is stuck in your brain, right? So if you have no time to learn, then I would say if you have to use Windows, use Chris Titus's tool or something similar. And I can't really endorse it, but I've looked at it. It seems fine. I didn't see anything weird. Just do that. Like, debloat it, fix the telemetry, and if you can, disable that damn recall if you can, because it's up to you, right? Like I said, everyone's threat model is different. What's important to you is different. What's important to me is totally different than what's important to most people. The second reason why you may not want to use Linux would be hardware compatibility and support. So, in the old days, hardware and driver issues were a problem with NVIDIA GPUs. But if you pick, the majority of the more popular distributions, it's all taken care of for you. So it's not really an issue anymore. Or they just have you click a button like in Mint or Pop. They have you choose the version you want. And you're good. So it's not really an issue. Now, I've heard that some peripherals, sometimes people have issues with certain peripherals. Like a good example is like this webcam that I'm using, right? Some webcams come with proprietary Windows software, and that proprietary software sometimes doesn't work in Linux, or they don't have a Linux version. Now, so in addition to that, there was also a couple people that I've seen online where they say that they've tried to use some of their decks and some other stuff that they have for recording or streaming or whatever, and or a dock. I don't know. I'm not sure if it was a deck or a dock, but they had an old version and it worked, and then but the newer version doesn't work now. So that's kind of a big problem, right? When you're in a Linux environment, you kind of have to have that as one of your criteria when you're buying stuff. So if you're buying a camera, like a webcam, or if you're buying like whatever it is, just make sure that like just look at some of the comments and see you can scan it, or you can use AI to search comments and see if there's any reviews uh, that mention Linux compatibility, and that'll give you the information that you need. But yeah, that's definitely a valid reason. Okay, so the next reason why Linux might not be for you would be software gaps. So if you are making YouTube videos, the one thing that I wish was available on Linux. It's gonna sound crazy, but I really, really like NVIDIA Broadcast. Why? Because it has a really good background remover. Uh, so I haven't found a really good background remover yet, but like I said, I'm still kind of new. I've seen people streaming Linux videos and whatnot, and either they just have a really cool house, or they've figured out how to do the background remover where it doesn't look like crap. Now, thank you to those people who actually created the background remover for OBS, but it's pretty it just doesn't work for me. So if you need Adobe Suite, that's not going to work for you. I guess you could use things like I think like Adobe Express or something like that. Anything web based, you could use that. But installed Adobe Suite, probably not going to work. I From what I understand though, I was hearing somewhere that there is a way to make it work, but for a normal user, it's not really reasonable as far as what I've seen. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. Microsoft Office. You're not going to have Microsoft Office that you can install on this machine. It's not going to work. But you can do what I do. If I absolutely need Microsoft, I just log into Microsoft Online. It's just like Google Docs, but it's Microsoft, and you have access to Word, PowerPoint, Excel, everything, and it has all of the like the main features of those programs all on the web. So it's for me, it's a non-issue. Now, if you are like some highly skilled guru of Microsoft Word, skilled in the dark arts of PowerPoint, then maybe that's not going to work for you. Maybe you need to do some of that crazy stuff that you see online sometimes, right? But for most people, that's a non-issue. Maybe you might have some like tax software or something uh, that may not work. I think there's going to be equivalents though. You may have to look at your use case and see if there's some gaps there. But for the most part, like other than that, like I can't see anything that I'm ever missing. The Zoom works just fine whenever I have to do a Zoom. All of my local AI apps work fine whenever I need to use those. There's nothing that I need that isn't here other than an NVIDIA Broadcast. I really miss that. Hopefully, they say they're working on it, but everyone says that. Um, Reason 4 would be, strangely enough, gaming and gaming trade-offs. Anti-cheat games. So, like we talked about Valorant, Fortnite, they often don't work. Performance. Now, this used to be the case, but from what I've seen, it's hit and miss. So, like for instance, I don't know what it is, but I know Turtle Well is not really a big a big game to use for this. But when I used play Turtle WoW, even on a 2060 laptop, it runs better than my wife's, and hers is on a 4070. Hers is all jacked up, and I can't seem to figure out why. Um, I'm gonna have to well, I don't like to mess with her stuff. That's her domain, right? She'll figure it out when she wants to figure it out, or she'll use something else. But yeah, you might run. Well, that's working better for me, right? But now, when I tried Once Human, it works. It works fine. But the thing is, it's definitely not as fast as the Windows version of Once Human. So, hey, I just wanted to do a quick update. I tried playing Once Human again, and I did it on both my 2060 laptop, which is a Tongfang, just like one of those generic laptops. And then I tried it on a 4090. It's not a laptop, it's a desktop. And it's a really good system, 12900 and all this stuff. And what's strange is that the 2060 laptop, they're both going through the same screen. It's a 4K screen. But I have the laptop in 2560 by 1440, and I don't have any stutters on that. It's smooth. But when I play my 4090, it's smooth, but I get occasional stutters. I'm running at 4K, but it's a 4090. You wouldn't expect, you know, stutters. So I just wanted to bring that up and I tried all the same tricks I did on my laptop, and they don't make a difference on my desktop, which is really strange. So I thought I'd just mention that, right? Mainly, what you want to see is you don't want to see stutters. You don't want to see any of this crap. Some distros already have like support for a lot of advanced stuff, and there's a lot of cool things. We'll talk about that later though. So also social pressure, right? Friends might tease you, you know, um, saying what, are you gonna tell us to use Arch Linux now? Like stuff like this. Are you gonna tell us every second that you use Arch Linux? You know, so it's not really a negative, but there's a lot of memes out there, and I think they're funny, and even if I used Arch Linux, yeah, I would still think it's funny. So, but some people might have thin skin, or they might, take their stuff very seriously, and people are weird, right? So if you're a weird person, it could be a negative to you. So just be aware of that. The next one would be finding help from friends if your computer has a problem. Want to if you have a problem on Linux, chances are, unless someone's an admin in your family, or like or someone else uses Linux, and hopefully they do, you're not really gonna be able to say, "Hey, I was on my computer the other day and this happened." What's going on? Does that happen to you? No, because I use Windows, right? I have other problems. So if you're with Windows, you could always talk to someone and say, "I don't know why, this happens," and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, try doing this," right? But with Linux, that's not going to be there. So who should avoid Linux right now? If you need to use Adobe, or if you need to use the full version of Microsoft Word, not the web version, or if you play Valorant, or like you can't live without Fortnite, like that kind of stuff, then yeah, you probably want to stick on Windows. Just use those other tips that I mentioned to remove all that BS out of it. So who should try Linux? People who are privacy conscious, like me, who are tired of corporate surveillance, or who you're just tired of just like, why they gotta know all this crap about you, right? You open your phone to do like take a note, and they want your geolocation, or they want like access to your contacts. Like, what the come on, man. So if you're a developer, if you're a sysadmin, you're already using Linux probably. So yeah, so old hardware owners, like my student, right? She has a really old messed up computer. If she ever wants, I'll give her, I could bring a little flash drive in, like a Ventoy flash drive, and see, have her try it if she ever wants to just wipe it out if it's all dead, and she'll find it's going to be like a brand new computer for her, most likely. Or maybe you're just curious. Maybe you were like my dad's a mechanic. He was a mechanic most of his life. He became a professor, and he now is just has that mind for picking things apart and troubleshooting. And he hates iOS because he can't do that with iOS. He likes Android, which is, I can respect that. And he likes he's interested in trying out Linux. So, you can get a little flash drive. A lot of people don't know. You can just put in certain distributions like Mint, pop it in. You don't have to install it. Just try it out for a little bit. It'll be a little bit slower because you're running from a flash drive, but super cool. And you'll see when you don't have these guardrails all around you all the time. It's um, it's gonna be quite refreshing. It's gonna give you so much power because with technology, that's one of the places where you learn more about it. It translates to real power. I tell people that all the time. But anyway, so I don't think that's 100% from a regular user's point of view, but it's enough to where you can relate, right? I wanted to give you a little bit more. Like, oh yeah, let me tell you one more thing. If you are on Linux, there's things that are applications are different on the Flatpak store or any other application that you install than on the Windows side. So for instance, if you have a VPN like Proton VPN, which is probably one of the better VPNs, and you have a free plan, with Windows. Then you automatically get sent to a random server, usually in the US or somewhere else, right? You have no control over that. But in Linux, there's a different version of the Proton VPN client, and it lets you choose your server. Like that's just one tiny thing that is not like gonna piss anyone off. And I can still tell you, hey, that's a really powerful thing because you can choose to get as far away from the was it the 5 eyes, the 9 eyes, and the 14 eyes as much as possible. And just pick a server that's outside of there. Say screw that crap, I'm getting out of there. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like this, and I just highly recommend trying it out, trying the most user-friendly ones, and we'll go over that with the next video, kind of going from each one. I'll install it. You can see me install it, so you'll know what to expect, and then I'll show you what happens when you first get to that screen, and what it is. Okay. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I enjoyed making it, but hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.